Hey, this is Pat, and today we're going to check out the Dainese Torque 4 boots. So the Dainese Torque line has always been a premium sport option within Dainese's line before you jump up to the Axial, which is what most MotoGP riders in Dainese's paddock are wearing. The Torque 4s are going to be the step down from that. So it's around the $480 price point, which is about a $30 step up from there. But this is a premium get you to the track, do whatever you need on a sport bike type of shoe. This is going to be something that gives you a lot of movement throughout, but matches it with as much protection as possible should you go down in the event of an accident. The nice part is, if you're riding in the summer or if you're riding in maybe some cooler months, they have two different options for you. So I have the Air version in front of me, which is going to be the two white versions, which is actually going to be perforated throughout, have a little bit of mesh as well. And then I have the non-perforated version over on my left. It's not going to be insulated, it's not going to have a waterproof liner, it just has no perforations through. So you get a little bit less air coming through to the boot. Some of the fabric's still going to allow it through, but if you're really trying to fight the elements on the hotter side and get your feet a little bit cooler, you do have the Air version, which again in the US market tends to be the best option for most riders out there. But again, this is something you can easily do sport touring in. You can ride a sport bike all day in the canyons, or it can get you to the track on any given Sunday should you want to get out there and have all that protection built in. But before I get too long-winded, let's hit some of the facts and talk about sizing. I mentioned that right out of the gate. They are $480. This is a $30 step up from the Torque 3s that we saw before, which makes sense over the years. I think it was about like 5 years or so since we saw the older Torque 3s. So it's nice that we're seeing that update, but again, with the added cost in there. Comes in sizes ranging from 38 up to 48 in European sizes. Comes in two different colorways in each version. We'll get their own unique two different colorways. And as I get to sizing, one thing I want to call out here, if you know your European size, it's going to fit true to size. I'm a 44 in almost every European size boot that I wear out there, including the TCXs that are on my foot right now. These are going to fit true to size to that, but if you're using your US measurement, I'm actually a 10.5. Dainese on their sizing chart calls a 44 a size 11. So if you are using your US measurement, go down about a half size. If you are confused on that, you can always reach out to our customer service team. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up with the sizing. But just keep that in mind. You're going to be looking at your normal European size, or if you're using the US metric on their sizing chart, just go down about a half size and get to the closest sizing in there, because they do fit a little bit tight. Still a narrow footbed when it comes to like the mid boot all the way to the back of the heel. Still very narrow that we saw from Dainese over the years, but I will say they're getting a little bit more generous in the toe box, a little bit more movement for your toes down there, which I love, especially on a sport boot. When you are on the bike and actually in the riding position, you want as much space in there, because as you get into that riding position, it does fold the materials down, so you want your foot to have somewhere to just go inside of there, just to be a little bit more comfortable. So keep that in mind. But again, if you have any questions there, you can always reach out to us and we'll gladly help walk you through finding the right size. Let's start up at the top though, work our way down the entire shoe, and we'll talk about every feature on this one. So up top, you have a massive TPU shin plate. It was updated with a little bit more hexagon patterns throughout, but really it's still the same TPU plate in there, just to protect against any, if you come across, if you slip off the bike, foot hits the pegs, things like that, you want to make sure that your calf is well protected there. Massive increase in the amount of bellows running down the tongue, so a lot more accordion stretch there than we saw in the previous version, with a little bit more perforation at the base of it coming in, so it's going to help cool off the entire tongue area and have that go up and inside around the heel just to help cool you off there. But I love the massive increase. Again, it's a very athletic sport, riding a sport bike or going to the track, so you want to make sure you have as much movement in there without sacrificing that protection, and this is an easy area to get a big win. So they increase the bellows right there. I mentioned the perforation down there. It's all localized perf, so it doesn't go all the way to the seams, which is something we always look for. Anytime a perforated hole goes towards the seams, you're just introducing an area for a fail for the material if the seam pulls through it. So what you want to do is stop the perforation before it gets to the edge, which you can see Dainese has done here, and they've even double stitched all the way around, which is something you'll see as a common theme throughout. A lot of double stitching, make sure it's really reinforced. You get the top of the toe box, you get a TPR shifter plate and shifter guard. That is on both, even though it's on the right boot over here. It is on the left boot, which is when you're going to get the primary use out of it. They just made it symmetrical with a nice pattern and design on there. Really reinforced toe box. We've seen a lot of brands start going away from a reinforced toe box on the casual side. I'm glad to see it's not going on the sport side of it, because you want to make sure your toe is really protective. Should you jab it into anything, should you go down, you want to make sure your foot is maximum protected. And you can even see that with the wraparound magnesium toe slider that you have up there. That is magnesium, that is replaceable. You can even swap it out for an aluminum one. They have a TPU version if you'd rather, for a little bit weight savings, but it comes with the magnesium stock. Moving down the side, more perforation at the sides. Again, on the Air version, that's not something you get on the regular version. It's just a design on the regular version in the graphic, but it's actually perforated on this Air version here. A little bit more Dainese logoing. Again, the hexagon pattern kind of playing true from the top side all the way down. And then another magnesium slider on the outside. If you do go down or the bike tips over on you, having that magnesium slider on the outer side is great. That's going to be a wear point, and the nice part is it's replaceable, so you can easily swap it out. If you get into a wreck, these are boots that are made to last you years and years and years of riding. That's where you get in the replaceable parts of being able to swap them out. And I mentioned at the side, you also get it at the heel. It is replaceable as well. So if you want a little bit more protection, we also have the comfort in knowing that should you go down, you can easily swap out the parts from Dainese. Quick look at the back, and one more thing I want to call out at the side that actually wraps into the back is this is going to be their D-stone fabric. We've been seeing them use that in jackets and things for years, so just keep that in mind. A little bit of breathability through there, although it is a very aggressive textile material. It's not a mesh, but it will allow a little bit of air, more so than synthetic leather or leather would, so you get a little bit more airflow in there. But what we see at the back is what Dainese has been known for their boots for years. You have expansion gussets via Velcro at the back of the boot if you have larger calves, or if you're using their suits, then you want them to actually go inside the boot, because they do have the over the boot option with a lot of their suits. If you want it to go inside, you just get a little expansion so you don't have a bulky buildup on the backside of it. Velcro entry on the inside, you do have a fully TPU backed plate just to have the heel go in. I'll actually tilt this down for our camera guys so you can see it in there. It's a speed lace system with an entire inner booty system. Now the inner booty isn't removable. It's like a hybrid system inside of there. But what's nice about that is you can really cinch your foot in there, get it nice and comfortable, and then use the speed lacing system to actually crank down on it, make sure it's nice and secure around your foot, and then cinch it up around your suit leathers, or if you're just wearing casual jeans, what have you, you can easily cinch it up, make sure your foot is nice and secure. And the nice part about that, the reason they had to do that is they are using their axial pivot system, their D-axial pivot system, which is a full TPU system for the ankle protection. So it's something that's going to protect you against lateral and torsional protection side to side, so your ankle doesn't twist. One of the most prone injuries out there, and it's connected inside of this piece with a pivot system to the lower housing of the entire boot. So something we've seen them use before. It's not revolutionary. A lot of brands are doing it out there, but it's something we always look for when it comes to sport boots, just because sport, like I said, it's a very aggressive, very dangerous sport. You want to make sure that that ankle is fully protected. If you get to riding shoes, that's where that typically gets cut off from there, but you get a nice protection of the ankle when it comes to twisting motions on each side. So love to see that. It plays right into the TPU around the front, and it matches in with that inner booty system I talked about just a second ago. One thing to call out on the medial side, on the inside of the boot, this is what grips the bike. Not much going on, a lot less than the outer side, and the reason is because you want all this material to be able to grip the bike without it causing any discomfort or any slippage or anything like that. You want to be able to grip the bike as much as possible. So a lot of everything that they had on the outside is smoothed out on the inside. They even have a little bit of more of a tacky TPU that is brushed on the outside just to grip the bike and have it go in there. And that's not replaceable. I would have loved to seen that be replaceable. We've seen that in the MX world. I would love to see that transition over here just because that's a wear point. If you're riding properly, this is going to wear down a lot quicker than anything else on the boot, with maybe save the sole. One thing I'll call out, Dainese, if you're listening, I don't get the barcode on the inside of the boots. Doesn't really go with the design, so if you are looking at different colorways or different iterations, I would personally ditch that. It's not on the non-Air version, it's just on the Air version that I have here. But Dainese, if you're listening, that's a pretty easy one just to get rid of. At the sole is probably one of the biggest updates to these Torques that we've seen in a while, because they are now using a ground track sole throughout. That's something we've seen from TCX in the past, but it's a nice tacky thermo-rubberized molded sole, something that's about a 4 to 5 out of 10 on the stiffness scale, which is great. You don't want boots for sport to be overly stiff. You want to be able to move on the pegs and really jump around. So you get that flex point, and the reason is because there's a Z plate inside of there. That's a TPU panel, so it's like a TPU shank, protects it from any crush protection on the side, but it will flex because it has a Z built into it right around the toe box. It's going to allow it to flex even though it is rigid side to side. You get that flex point on there. Love seeing in the TCXs. It's a reason why I have them as my riding shoes for everyday commuting. Love to see the Dainese starting to incorporate that same technology with a very tacky, very grippy sole. Honestly, something that I don't think I've seen many sport boots out there have such a tack and grip to them. But if you are using them for everyday riding, you're walking around, or just come up to a stoplight, it's great to have all that grip in there just so your foot doesn't slide when you put your foot down. But even better when you're on the pegs just ripping around, something that you want as much grip as possible. These ones might just be the ticket for you. But all in, considering you are getting an increase in stretch throughout with the bellows, a nice inner booty system, the Z plate, and the ground tracks update, I'm okay with the $30 price increase for these. And I think they really pack a pretty heavy punch, especially considering they are the step down from the MotoGP level boots within Dainese's line. But if you have any questions on these, whether you're between the Air or the regular version, click that info button. That's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews. Don't just take my word for it. See what other riders are saying about these. And if you still have questions after that, like I called out in the beginning, if you have questions on sizing, reach out to our customer service team. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up on your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me in checking out the all-new Dainese Torque 4 boots. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.